So Becky Hammon is one of those figures who commands everyone's respect, or should command everyone's respect. Really, there's nothing you can say about her resume at this point in time. All the winning she's done in the WNBA with the Las Vegas Aces, the work she put in the NBA with the San Antonio Spurs on the coaching staff. So there is no holes in her, career as far as what she's been able to accomplish and achieve. So the things that she says hold weight. And I thought it was interesting to see her discuss a couple of things. She complimented the Indiana Fever again on the show with Aaliyah Boston and Candace Parker. And she had said that before after the Aces won the championship, acknowledging how arduous that road through Indiana was. But there was another appearance she did on CNBC, and I think she handled this pretty well, because I understand where the question came from, but it's one of those questions that could set you up a little bit, because it puts you in a position to put A'ja Wilson over at the expense of Caitlin Clark. I'll just play you what I'm talking about.
I think for the general public, when people think about the WNBA, the first player that comes to mind is Caitlin Clark. Some people refer to her as sort of the Tiger Woods figure of the WNBA. The difference there being that I think Tiger Woods was clearly the dominant golfer when people were talking about that. Whereas in the league, I think it's pretty clear that A'ja Wilson is the best player in the WNBA right now. Does that lead to sort of an awkward dynamic at all?
I don't think so. I think people want to make more of it than what it is. Let the numbers do the talking, the winning do the talking. Caitlin had a tough year, obviously, with injuries this year. She's going to be a tremendous player in this league. There's no doubt about that. A'ja Wilson is the best player on the planet, and you got the hardware and the numbers and everything to back it up. But Caitlin Clark bringing in the fanfare, I mean, she was one of the most exciting players I've ever seen on a collegiate level. And I would assume, a healthy year for her. She's going to be a great pro for a long time. So it's exciting for our league. But right now, A'ja Wilson is the 6'4" most dominant player in the league.
So she handled that very well, right? Like, of course, she's going to compliment A'ja Wilson, deservedly so. Right? There's no spinning it. Right? You don't have to spin it. A'ja Wilson deserves all the kudos and all the compliments she got from her head coach there. But beyond what Asia's been able to go out there and do, and how great A'ja has been, Becky is also her head coach. So that's part of the job of being a head coach, is to have the back of your players and to support your players. But she didn't fall into any sort of traps either. And, she recognized what Caitlin Clark has brought to the game, and she gave Caitlin her flowers as a player. And that's where the framing of the question was a little off, in my opinion. I get what he was trying to say. But, it's not as if Caitlin is some sort of hype machine who just arrived. She dominated the WNBA as a rookie. The unfortunate circumstances simply have to do with the fact that she was injured all this year, which, out of sight, out of mind when it comes to the basketball aspect of things. But Caitlin, MVP favorite, right? Going to be again next year, right in that mix. First team all WNBA as a rookie, fourth in MVP voting as a rookie. So all the stuff that was said about her was true, and it came true in the WNBA. It's just A'ja has the pedigree. A'ja won this season again, and Caitlin was out. So, the framing of it, it's almost like it was, Caitlin comes and she didn't do anything and is getting rewarded while A'ja gets no attention. In fact, A'ja, I would argue, her profile, I wouldn't even argue, it's true that her profile has increased astronomically in the past 2 years. The number of people who now know who A'ja Wilson is and appreciate A'ja Wilson's game is much greater than it was before Caitlin Clark arrived. So in that sense, it's not an awkward dynamic at all. The awkward dynamic came with the shoe release and all that stuff, but I'm not beating dead horses or nothing like that. I just wanted to say Becky Hammon, I thought, answered that question deftly, like a pro. And then she was on with Aaliyah and Candace Parker, and this is what she had to say about playing the Indiana Fever.
Indiana actually was probably the hardest series I've been through.
Yes.
Yeah, true. And you know what? It's funny, Aaliyah, you're sitting there, but it's like, I was pissed after game 5. I'm sure you were more pissed, but we're going to the finals. But then I went back and watched it. My CT calls me, Candace, at like 3 a.m. She's like, "You still mad?" And I was like, no. I'm like, Indiana just played their asses off. Like I can't. I mean, you guys played amazing. Can't be mad at either team. It was just two teams blow for blow, back and forth, and both teams really playing at an elite level. I don't care what the names on the jerseys are. Those were two teams just going at it in the best way possible. I thought super competitive, down to the wire, obviously, in most of those games. And so this one hit different for sure, though, because it was different.
So, look, it behooves Becky to make the Fever seem more formidable because it makes the Aces championship more of an accomplishment, if you will. But she's also, again, telling the truth. Anybody who had eyes and watched saw how together the Fever played, how much effort the Fever played with, how many players stepped up, whether it was, doesn't matter the name on the jersey, like she said. Like, I remember in that game against the Aces, Shea Petty hit a really big shot that kept the Fever hanging around. Odyssey Sims made big plays to keep the Fever hanging around. And that is a testament to the culture that the Fever developed and the coaching on the Fever side of things from Stephanie White. And we all saw that. I mean, it's why we, went out and praised the resilience over and over. Or I did, certainly. And in that game, they went to the wheels fell off. I mean, Kelsey Mitchell going down in the midst of that game. Aaliyah Boston really, really, really held her own against A'ja Wilson, getting the best of her even at times during that series, especially in the game that made there be a deciding game in Vegas for Game 5, which goes to overtime after Kelsey Mitchell goes out and gets hurt. So you could see, in the there's probably critiques online of social media. They could barely get past the hospital fever. But Becky Hammon, I believe her, right? Like, she goes to the tape, she watches it, she sees what we all saw, and that's it. And Becky Hammon is a coaching legend. Becky Hammon deserves everybody's respect. She's done it at the WNBA level, in a way that others can't match. She put in the work behind the scenes in the NBA, like I said. And, when you hear her speak, there's a certain gravitas and import to her words. She's able to communicate it because she's been there, done that, seen it all, and is confident in what she has to say. So nothing but coaching kudos for Becky Hammon, who at this point can appropriately be referred to as a legend. And she gave the proper credit to Caitlin Clark while also putting over A'ja Wilson. And she gave the proper credit to the Indiana Fever while also talking about how the Aces championship hit different. I mean, I thought she answered all that